Okay, Steve. What sort of fresh hell do you have in store for me this... But you reviewed the last two alone. What happened to your weird, arbitrary rule of consistent reviewer lineup?
Because the last time you and I got to review movies together, it was Spy Kids 4 and part of Last Airbender. So this time I figure, let's forget the weird arbitrary rule, so that you can review something decent for a change.
The Sandlot. The best!
The Sandlot. Released in 1993 to a modest box office return, this film gained a cult following on home video, and far as I can tell, very few who have seen it have negative feelings about it. Myself, The Sandlot is one of my favorite movies of all time.
What can I say about this movie? It's great. It's a wonderful piece of cinema I remember watching as a young kid that I love watching just as much now. It helped pique my interest in baseball, and as a result, I signed up for our local single-A baseball league for as long as the Little League and the Babe Ruth series would take me.
As some of you may know, I've already reviewed the Sandlot sequels, and today, we finish the set. The movie begins with a story about Babe Ruth.
Babe Ruth raised his arm and pointed to the center field bleachers. No one believed it, because nobody had ever done it before. But the Babe was calling his shot.
But the actual story begins with Scott Smalls.
I was from another state, and I didn't have a single friend in 1,000 miles. My real dad died when I was just a little kid. My mom had married Bill about a year before we moved to the valley. He and I were still getting used to each other.
Smalls follows a group of boys to a secluded baseball field known as the Sandlot.
But when I finally got up enough guts to go out there and try and make friends, I found out that they never kept score. They never chose sides. They never even really stopped playing the game. It just went on forever.
These kids quickly go from concern
Watch out!
to ridiculing Smalls.
Oh my god!
I'm not gonna laugh, but how is throwing a ball so difficult for an able-bodied 12-year-old? Apparently, because Smalls is such a nerd, even his mom tells him to go live a little.
Run around, scrape your knees, get dirty, climb trees, hop fences, get into trouble, for crying out loud. Not too much, but some.
She coaxes Bill into teaching Smalls to play catch, which is as awkward as expected.
Here.
Scotty, keep your eye on the ball.
Oh, he will.
Despite Smalls constantly failing his prerogative of,
Don't be a goofus.
Benny, the head of the Sandlot team, invites Smalls to play with them.
But my glove, it's busted.
It made contact with 2 baseballs and just fell apart? Even for a toy mitt, that's pathetic.
I got an extra one.
Mom, I'm gonna go play some ball.
The activity that just gave you a black eye 5 minutes ago? Okay, honey, have fun!
Dude, the 60s had a crazy amount of chill. When I was a kid, I wasn't even allowed out of the nearby neighborhoods.
Dude, I was stuck on my block until I was like 10. These kids just say going out and get free reign of the entire town.
We meet the rest of the team.
That's Timmy and Tommy Timmons. Mike Squints Pelladors. Alan McLennan, we call him Yeah. Bertram Grover Weeks. Kenny DeNunez. And Hamilton Porter. We call him Ham. Guys, this is Scott Smalls.
Hi.
Spitting at his feet was too subtle, so the kids expressed their opinions verbally as well.
The kid is a L7 weenie.
Yeah. Oscar Mayer even. Foot long. Dodger dog. A weenie.
Harsh as they are, Smalls does have doubtable baseball skills.
Smalls, you take left center, okay?
Okay. Where exactly is that?
Here. Sorry.
Thankfully, Benny is a very, very patient guy.
Man, this is baseball. You gotta stop thinking. You just have fun. I mean, if you were having fun, you would have caught that ball.
That's not how this works.
You ever have a paper out?
I helped a guy once.
Well, Tuck it like you would throw paper. When your arm gets here, just let go.
How do I catch it?
Just stand there and stick your glove out in the air. I'll take care of it.
What? This is terrible advice on how to play baseball. But this being fiction, it works like a charm.
Please catch it. Please catch it.
Okay, let's play some ball.
Smalls gets to keep the mitt and a new hat, courtesy of Benny, the ultimate bro. Later on, a normal day...
Whoa!
This is baseball! Not tennis! Give me a tennis racket!
suddenly takes a turn. I know from experience that filming sports action is kind of tricky. But was that really the best take you could get? The ball flew straight up and to the right. That would probably go foul, and no way would it be a left center field home run.
Wait a sec! I'll get it!
Don't worry, my mom said I can hop fences. Well, that was one of the most underrated no's in cinematic history. This scene is a great first example of the energy that these kids bring to the movie with their yelling and screaming. As for why they stopped him...
The beast!
Go to that fence. Real slow and be quiet.
But
No. Just go.
Why can't you just explain it to me?
Can't do that, man. It's more dramatic this way. Rather than explain it right away, they throw a camp out in their treehouse. Which I will forgive because treehouses are awesome. We've all heard important fables before. The tale of the three brothers, the tragedy of Darth Plagueis the Wise.
Well, feast your eyes, people, because now you will behold...
The legend of the beast. When thieves kept stealing junk from Myrtle's Acres junkyard. Got him this new pup from the dog pound. So they could protect the junkyard with only one thing on his mind. To kill everyone that broke in. And he did. My grandpa, Squigman Palladors, was police chief back then. When he ordered Mr. Mertle to chain up the beast and put him under the house.
Can we take a moment to appreciate this fictional community not being racist against Inunez in pre-civil rights 1962? It's just about kids enjoying a summer of baseball. It's wholesome. I love it.
But this legend takes place 20 years before that, so we do get this.
Because when Mr. Mertle asked the cops how long he had to keep the beast chained up like a slave.
Shade don't get much darker than when you're referencing slavery. Which begs the question, if Mertle is African American, why is Flashback Mertle played by a white guy?
They said until forever. 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 And so, the beast sits there under that lean-to, dreaming of the time when he can chase and kill again.
So that was kind of scary. Hey, look, a hot girl!
Wendy Peppercorn.
Hey, you guys feel like playing some baseball? Excuse me, I'm gonna go masturbate.
Yaya has to drag Squints away, though I'm not entirely sure why they're still moving so sluggishly when they've reached the Sandlot.
Well, you can't really run with raging hormones.
Why would hormones make it hard to... Oh.
It's extremely hot outside, and despite Benny's brutal taunts...
Anybody who wants to be a can't hack it panty waist who wears their mama's bra, raise your hand.
The boys vote to cancel baseball for the day.
So what are we gonna do?
Wendy Peppercorn has a similar effect on the other boys.
Overwhelmed, Squints takes desperate measures.
This magic moment.
I honestly don't know what I find to be more strange. The fact that a 12-year-old is putting the moves on a lifeguard, or the fact that these moves kind of work.
We got banned from the pool
Forever.
that day, but every time we walked by after that, the lifeguard looked down from her tower, right over at Squints, and smiled.
Next, the boys celebrate Independence Day with a night game.
Oh, beautiful, far spacious skies. America, sweet America.
I think I speak for both of us when I say one of the biggest disappointments in our short lives is that we will probably not get the opportunity to play a baseball game lit by fireworks.
I'd nearly die from happiness if we got to do that. Next, we get to see the pseudo gang war between the Sandlot kids and a Little League team. Forget whatever this song was meant to convey. In my brain, it's the "oh, it's on" song. And that feeling is definitely sold by the performances.
You ain't good enough to lick the dirt off our cleats. Watch it, jerk. Shut up, idiot. Moron. Scab eater. Butt sniffer. Pus licker. Fart smeller.
What makes this scene so great isn't really the quality of the insults, but the delivery. Especially,
You play ball like a girl.
Performances go a long way, and these reactions do a beautiful job of showing that the gauntlet has been thrown.
Tomorrow, noon, at our field. Get the buffalo butt breath. Count on it, pee-drinking crap face. Yeah!
The insults don't stop there,
Hurry up, batter. It's gonna be a short game and I gotta get home for lunch.
but the scene is made by this montage. The kids celebrate their victory at the carnival with a special treat.
Cha! Look! What? Chewing tobacco? Tobacco, man. What do you do with it? You're killing me, Smalls!
On that iconic quote, I do have to wonder why all the merchandise that says "You're killing me, Smalls" has the face from the "You play ball like a girl" scene. Get your scene straight, t-shirt makers. Smalls gives in to peer pressure, and everyone pays the price.
Bill is going on a business trip and symbolically makes Scott man of the house.
Take another stab at catch when I get back, all right?
Is he just unaware of this entire summer? Smalls has repeatedly mentioned,
And he got me out of the biggest pickle I'd ever be in. When I'd get us all into the biggest pickle any of us had ever seen was the day I got us into the biggest pickle of all time.
that trouble starts here.
Maybe 2 or 3 guys in history ever busted the guts out of a ball. Must be an omen.
Anybody got any money?
No.
Then it ain't okay, because now we can't play no more.
Yeah, we can.
What? You got 98 extra cents lying around at home, Smalls?
$3 to $6 for a baseball in 2018.
Oh my god.
Inflation, man.
No, but I got a ball.
Go get it!
Smalls grabs an autographed baseball from Bill's trophy room and blasts a homer with it. Naturally, he is now a bit worried.
We gotta get that ball back.
Forget about it, man. Yeah, just get another ball.
Well, where was this attitude earlier then, Mr. Now We Can't Play No More?
It was my stepdad's. I stole it from his trophy room.
Where did your old man get that ball?
Some lady gave it to him. Why? He signed her name on it. Some lady named Ruth. Baby Ruth.
Babe Ruth!
Initially, I got hung up on the signature, but I can accept that these boys didn't spend that much time looking at the baseball. But there was a much easier solution to this whole thing. And I want you guys to brace yourselves, because once you know, you cannot unknow. This movie has existed since the year I was born. It has been in my life the entire time. Not once has this ever occurred to me.
Babe Ruth is the greatest baseball player that ever lived. That ball you just aced to the beast is worth, well, more than your whole life, man.
I don't feel so good.
Uh-oh, Phantom. Give him air.
Way to fan him with your glasses, Squints. Big help.
Alright, when does your old man get home from work?
He's gone on business, out of town, but he could be back anytime.
Well, geez, Smalls doesn't pay attention either.
On business for a week.
Spread out and look for bottles and cash them in. We need 98 cents. We gotta buy us a ball.
The kids buy time by forging a signature on a new baseball.
Dad's father gave it to him. Maybe someday he'll give it to you.
Neat.
Since there is supposedly a reason to not just knock on Myrtle's back door,
Mr. Mertle's the meanest old man that ever lived. He's the one who made the beast eat that kid. Forget about it.
what follows is 5 failed attempts at retrieving the ball.
The first 2 are simple. They just try to drag the ball out. But then it gets insane. 3 vacuums rigged with a catcher's mask, a pulley system to lower Yaya down to grab the ball, using Small's erector set to build a rolling catapult. So many questions. Where'd they get the power supply from? Where'd they get the resources for a pulley system? Why did nobody in the area call the cops about the screaming kids? Or, you know, about this?
In short, Smalls is royally screwed, until Benny has an encouraging dream.
A baseball with my John Hancock on it went over a fence and you can't get it back, right? Then just hop over there and get it.
There's a beast back there.
What kind?
A giant gorilla dog thing that ate one kid already.
Is that a fact?
There's some pretty cool things about this scene. The wisdom.
Everybody gets one chance to do something great. Most people never take the chance, either because they're too scared or they don't recognize it when it spits on their shoes. Remember when you busted the guts out of the ball the other day? Someone's telling you something, kid.
This Easter egg.
Henry Aaron. I don't know why, but can I have this, kid?
And this quote.
Heroes get remembered, but legends never die.
Inspired, Benny puts on superpowered shoes and hops the fence. For a boy, a dog, and a baseball, this is a pretty badass high noon moment.
Look at the testicles on that son of a bitch.
Thank you, Brett. That was very valuable insight. Benny proceeds to grab the ball and hop back over the fence. Unfortunately, the beast breaks his chain and follows him. Benny then manages to outrun the dog across a good chunk of their town. I think we seriously underestimated those shoes.
Oh man, indeed.
Come on, guys, help me! Please! Benny! Benny, help me, please! He's hurt!
Wow, the beast is a dog. I mean, he did look like he wanted to play earlier. It's not much, but it's foreshadowing as far as I can tell.
Wow.
Now we can play
Forever.
The boys approach Mr. Mertle and learn that they had a few very dramatic misconceptions.
We brought your dog home.
How'd he get out?
We hit a baseball into your yard. We tried to get it back.
So you're the one's been making all that racket.
Oh, do you mean this racket? And again, no police. Not even one call.
Why didn't you just knock on the door? I'd have gotten it for you.
Oh my God!
You all chided Smalls for suggesting it in the first place, you friggin' hypocrites.
You in trouble, aren't you, son?
That was my stepdad's ball. I took it without asking. It was signed by Babe Ruth.
George signed this?
George Herman Ruth? Yeah.
That's very specific knowledge for someone who not long ago thought that the name Babe Ruth referred to a woman.
In a twist of fate, Mertle is actually a former ballplayer who knew Babe Ruth personally.
He was almost as great a hitter as I was. Baseball was life. And I was good at it. Real good. And then, one day, a high fast one and pow, lights went out.
He offers the boys a ball, autographed by the 1927 Yankees to make up for the ball that was ruined. Even though the boys were the ones causing all the trouble.
I don't think we could take this ball.
I'll tell you what. You guys come by here once a week and talk baseball with me. We'll call it an even trade.
All things considered, Smalls gets off pretty easy.
He was still plenty mad about me having swiped his Babe Ruth autograph ball and ruining it. So I didn't feel too bad when he grounded me for a week, instead of the rest of my life.
Wow.
This is followed up by a montage of Where Are They Now narrations.
Yaya's parents shipped him off to military school. After the army, he became one of the pioneering developers of bungee jumping. Of course, we all know why. Squints grew up and married Wendy Peppercorn. They have 9 kids. They bought Vincent's drugstore and they still own it to this day.
The film ends in the distant future. Benny's major league career is going well, and Smalls is right there with him. So that was The Sandlot. God, I love this movie. I could say so much about it. These kids did a great job acting. The variety of adventures they have packs multiple genres and styles into one movie without losing tone consistency. The soundtrack and score is catchy and ties so perfectly with the film that I can identify a lot of specific moments by the music alone. Put simply, The Sandlot just feels good to watch. It's so nostalgic. Not just from me watching it repeatedly or playing baseball as a kid. This movie is childhood summers incarnate. Being a kid, doing stuff with your friends, what felt most important to you at that age. Of the films I've watched in my life, I'd argue that this is one of very few that does such a good job capturing the sensation of childhood.
I could ramble on for another 10 minutes about this movie, but Steven's only given me a paragraph.
Hey!
So, here it goes. This movie has imprinted on me moments that I'll never forget. Squints almost dying just to get a kiss with Wendy, Smalls hitting his first home run, and watching the kids try to get their ball back with plans so insane that only kids could have thought of them. And of course, the iconic story of Hercules the dog, the cop saying "forever" with the most exaggerated mouth movement ever, just This movie reminds me of when I'd go down to our little neighborhood park with friends to hang out, play baseball, or just enjoy summer. The Sandlot encapsulates my childhood, and I love it.
And yet, even a movie I enjoy this much can be picked at. Let's talk plot holes.
Why did Benny make a big deal about getting another ball when it was just a matter of cashing in 98 cents worth of bottles for a new one?
Depending how often a ball goes over the fence, there are only so many bottles lying around town to cash in. In the case of the Babe Ruth autographed ball, it was a desperate situation demanding that they go the extra mile.
Why didn't Yaya just throw the ball back over the fence when he grabbed it?
In the moment, being lowered into the lair of the beast and all, he might have been too uneasy to think exactly as straight as he needed to. Can't blame him for that.
But even in that uneasy state, he still had composure enough to gawk at the gross baseball and tell his friends, with a relatively calm tone,
Okay, I got it. Get me out of here.
Let's say he tried to throw it from that awkward angle. It might not go over the fence, and worse, it could get stuck behind a pile of garbage or something that would make retrieving it almost impossible. So while you could technically say that is the simpler solution, it wasn't a risk worth taking.